Okay, so in my ever developing quest to understand why I am the way I am and why other people are the way they are, there's a game I found called the Seven Deadly Sins. Knowledge can get you places, but you've got to sin to win. So that's a fun game, especially if you just use it to inspire comedy. There's some things in this game that I would not want to invite certain people over for. And then I have this book called Why Is It Always About You? The Seven Deadly Sins of Narcissism. I thought, oh, I know some people who are narcissists. They're described in this book. Then I have this one. It's called Alcoholism, the Nutritional Approach. It's an older book, but it's got some great things, because I know alcoholism is on the rise. And this book explains what is alcoholism. Well, a simple definition of alcoholism is a tendency to drink too much alcohol. Since some are convinced that any amount of alcohol consumed is too much, the definition needs clarification. Too much for what? It seems obvious that there are all degrees of alcoholism, and that drawing a hard and fast line between what is alcoholism and what is not is difficult or impossible. I would say, however, that anyone who drinks enough alcohol to interfere with his or her activities as a useful and productive citizen is a victim of alcoholism. If this inference is slight and can be guaranteed to remain so, the case is mild. If the interference with productive work is serious, then the case of alcoholism is correspondingly severe. One of the most difficult barriers to the successful treatment of alcoholism is the fact that many drinkers who are commonly regarded as alcoholics by everyone who knows them will not admit it to themselves, or at least to their friends, that the difficulty exists. Undoubtedly, this attitude is in part a reaction to the moral stigma that for many decades has been placed on alcoholism. Looking at the problem in the common sense manner which I have indicated, namely that alcoholism is simply a tendency to drink too much alcohol, should make it possible for individuals who have any difficulty whatever in this connection to face their own cases in a true light, and not to be too proud to take ameliorative measures to ameliorate something. It's like mitigating. It is my opinion that there are vast numbers of people who have some alcoholic tendencies, even though they may be slight, and that in many cases these tendencies are of such a nature that they can be corrected. When one thinks of alcoholism, severe cases come to mind. I know some. They're not alive anymore. And any discussion of the subject must include a consideration of such individuals who have, in general, followed one of two courses, either abstinence, most often helped or with the help of Alcoholics Anonymous, not always. Alcoholics Anonymous is not for everyone. There are judgmental fucktards, excuse my language, to be found in Alcoholics Anonymous, and there are judgmental bitches, excuse my language, to be found in Alcoholics Anonymous. I have had many encounters with them. There are some religious hypocrites that are found in Alcoholics Anonymous. I've had many encounters with them. They are not helpful. They're actually more harmful. But anyways, or else the other alternative, ruination, followed ultimately by death from diseases associated with excessive alcohol consumption. Liver, kidney, all these, things that can go with alcoholism. It should be made clear at this point that alcoholism is an affliction of individuals. No social group is ever afflicted with alcoholism. That I disagree with. This is an older, archaic book, but I do disagree with that. There are societies that drink alcohol as part of their culture, and they probably do have alcoholics, but they just take care of them better or differently. They still die eventually of something. But families, there's families of alcoholics, clans. Oh, I know about clans and tribes and tribalism. And communities never become alcoholic. It is specific individuals within these groups who are victims. This is not to deny that a tendency toward alcoholism may be familial, or to say that members of certain ethnic groups, such as American Indians, I am familiar with American Indians. I was in love with one, and alcohol is hard on that particular But every body reacts the same way to a toxin. Anyways, the man that I was in love with, who I wanted to marry, he was a cutie pie. He had a glass eyeball, and he went off to prison for murder. We had to call in the National Guard to shut his family down, because you don't want to piss off, Klamath Native Americans. And if you're a police officer, you don't want to take one of their sons out in the woods and shoot him in the face and leave him for dead. You might have a war on your hands. But anyways, such as American Indians may not be peculiarly susceptible to the affliction. They might be, actually. This says may not be. They actually might be more susceptible to afflictions, especially if this wasn't in their diet down through their ancestry. Anyways, among the Western European peoples and the cultures in which alcoholic consumption is widespread, they used to pay Chaucer in alcohol, the kings and queens, and they used to pay people in all sorts of things like salt and alcohol. But anyways, alcoholism undoubtedly strikes certain individuals with devastating effects, just as certainly as it misses under other individuals completely. Furthermore, it is a fact attested by everyone familiar with the problem that those individuals who are strongly alcoholism prone are in a sense marked men or women for life. They never are wholly out of danger so far as the affliction is concerned, and must watch their step continually as long as they live, because we end up getting judged much more harshly than the non-alcoholics, who are often self-righteous, and they are cruel and abusive. Sometimes the non-alcoholics are the cruel, abusive, self-righteous people. This susceptibility is clearly an individual matter. Lack of susceptibility is also an individual matter, and there are those who can drink moderately or even immoderately for decades without ever practicing the compulsive drinking that is characteristic of severe alcoholism. There are others for whom alcoholic beverages have very little or no attraction, even though they are exposed to the use of these beverages. One of the few uniformities observed in connection with alcoholism is the triggering action of a single drink. Alcoholics may have a craving for alcohol during periods of abstinence. Some do more than others. It's almost like sex. Anything that you're deprived of, if you have to have abstinence, it might increase the craving for it. Maybe. But when after such a period they imbibe even a little, the triggering effect of this first drink is unmistakable. I can attest to that. I know people who can also attest to that. That's why some people need to completely abstain. Other people can moderate their intake. They use different safety measures to moderate. They put themselves under rules. Every victim of alcoholism I've ever heard of has experienced this reaction to alcohol, and this appears to be one thing in common to all those who are afflicted with the condition. An individual who is not alcoholism prone can take one drink, or more than one, and stop at any predetermined point. An alcoholism-prone individual, especially a severe case, is unable to stop of his own volition once he has started. Each drink calls for one more. I can remember as a victim of alcohol, 4 years old, my parents gave me a drink of Manischewitz wine in my 4-year-old little tin cup at a Passover dinner around the family table. My mom poured some in my little cup. I didn't know what it was. I was just 4 years old. And my dad poured some in my cup. I didn't know what it was. I was just 4 years old. And I guess the next thing was I threw my tin cup across the table. I said, I want some more. It was a good feeling. I was sitting around family. I felt safe and warm, and there's chatter going around the table, and it was nice. And I didn't know what it was. I just wanted some more. And so that's when I first became a pirate, at the age of 4. Anyways, now I can cuss like one. Related to the fact that alcoholism is a condition in which specific individuals are involved is the observation that each victim of alcoholism exhibits his own distinctive individual characteristics. Not only are there widely varying degrees of susceptibility, but in the severe cases, the results of alcoholism are highly diverse. The periodic drinkers constitute a striking example. Some of these may abstain for weeks or months with seemingly no difficulty. Yet, when the desire strikes them, they get the triggering effect of the first drink. They are quite helpless and constitute some of the most severe cases. This is what's interesting, I find. The fact that individuals differ in their responses to alcoholic intoxication is notorious and has been recognized for centuries. Thomas Nash in the 16th century, I love that time period, 15th, 16th, 17th centuries, classified drunkards into 8 kinds. Ape drunks, lion drunks, swine drunks, sheep drunks, maudlin drunks, marten drunks, goat drunks, and fox drunks. I've gone in and observed people, and it's kind of fun to start looking for people who have this behavior just in life. You start looking at people. I've seen ape drunks. They start out as cute little monkeys having a good time, and then if you're not careful, they can become aggressive. And I've seen guerrilla war. Ugh. Lion drunks, they boast, they're proud, they're loud. Swine drunks, they eat a lot and drink a lot, and they might be overweight, and they're like, they're intelligent, whatever, but they like more of everything. Some of them are lawyers and judges. Sheep drunks, that's how I would describe my dad. He was more of a quiet. He would just sit and read his Bible and watch the news and be pretty quiet. Maudlin drunks, those are the kind that cry, just like Mary Magdalene, that's where that comes from. They're sentimental, I've done that. Marten drunks, that's an interesting one. That's not for a bird, not the marten bird, but that's another pamphleteer that would write while he was under the influence of alcohol and then get up in the morning, have another drink, and keep writing. He was just this workaholic that drank while he worked. And then goat drunks, they're very stubborn, and the goats are always scapegoated, and they're different than lambs. But goat drunks are, goat milk is good, but if you've ever seen goats, they're stubborn, they butt heads and whatever. And then the fox drunks, they're very sly. I've seen those. In fact, one guy that I talked to, he's a magician, and very clever in his words too. And my first boyfriend's name was Fox. That was fun. And yeah. Anyways, while one might wish to question or revise this ancient classification, which has been done, it emphasizes the diversity of human responses and the impossibility of making a detailed description of what the typical alcoholic is like. Such a creature doesn't exist. That's true, because we all have a unique case of, what is that called? Whatever. We're unique. We have a terminal case of uniqueness. Everyone's unique. It's only when you're like a unicorn. You're like a unicorn. Such a creature doesn't exist. Unicorns don't exist. Maybe alcoholics don't exist. Alcoholics have only one thing in common, an urge of whatever sort or origin to drink too much. So just don't drink too much. And if you do drink too much, make sure you're in a safe zone and you're safe. And then expect a hangover the next day. And if you drink too much, you can die from alcohol poisoning. And don't combine alcohol with other stuff. You could die. Alcohol is a toxin. That's why it's called a spirit. If you drink too many spirits, you'll become spiritual really fast and meet God. And then you can ask God, why did you invent alcohol? Why did anything ferment? I mean, even animals drink alcohol. They get drunk. Don't put alcohol in your fish tank. It'll kill them. Anyways, this is coming from a person with the last name of Herring. That's fishy. Okay. So 7 deadly sins. This is fun. Why is it always about you? The 7 deadly sins of narcissism. Everything's always about you. It is. Nothing's about me. It's about you. For Donald, it's about Trump. In Trump's world, it's all about Donald. And there's shamelessness. Well, I belong to No Shame Theater. There's magical thinking. That's called Christianity. Or intentional delusional thinking. There's arrogance. That's called pride. There's envy. That's jealousy. If they can get away with it, why can't I? Or, why can't I be like that? Or whatever. Entitlement. That's an attitude of white European coming from England. You're entitled to have an attitude, or you just take what you want. You just take the first servings of everything, and you feel like everyone should be serving you. Exploitation. That's called sex trafficking, or taking advantage of someone's vulnerability, or rape, or whatever. You get exploited. If you're trapped in a hospital, you can get exploited and be accused of trying to commit suicide when you're actually trying to save your life. Bad boundaries. That's always a fun one. Boundaries. That's always a fun one, respecting people's boundaries. Where does narcissism come from? Childhood narcissism and the birth of me, the narcissistic parent. Defending yourself. That's always fun. Survival strategies for a narcissistic world. 1, know yourself. 2, embrace reality. Reality sucks sometimes. It just hurts. You got to know yourself. You're just human. You're going to sin. You're going to have sex someday if you live long enough and you want to. And then you might have kids someday if you live long enough and you want to. And if you don't want to, then don't. But don't judge other people that do. Set boundaries. That's called safe words, and this is my property, that's your property, this is mine, that's yours, and share certain things. Cultivate reciprocal relationships. That's equal gift exchanges. And special people. Everyone's special. But some people actually have disabilities and they're more special. Or some people are, Jewish and they're called God's chosen people. Everyone's chosen. But adolescent narcissism. What's normal, what isn't? So, well, you got to ask a teenager because they're the ones that get to determine that. They're the ones in control. Narcissism and addiction, the shame connection. Even depression was a shame condition. Eating pepperoni pizza was a shame condition. Eating a piece of shrimp was a shame condition. Having any fun was a shame. Having a birthday party was a shame condition. Shame on you for having coffee. Narcissist in love, the fusion delusion. That's called codependency. But sometimes people can fuse together and make kids. That's called the two shall become one. And sometimes they work together well and sometimes they don't. And then you take breaks. Narcissist at work, the abuse of power. That's called Trump and lawyers and judges sometimes and police officers and husbands and sometimes mothers and sometimes wives and just whoever's in the place of power can be abusive or abuse it. Narcissism and aging, the mirror cracks. Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? That's also a fun thing to study when you know about the Lady of Shalott. Only you can prevent forest fires. Only you can prevent narcissism. The narcissistic society becoming better parents. This is a great book. I highly suggest it, especially for children of parents that both have issues. The parents are both fucked up. Because every parent is fucked up. They get that way from fucking, which we don't talk about. We call it making love and making babies and making a family. Usually. It's usually referred to that way. So, falling in love can fuck you up. And then you can get hurt. If the other person falls out of love or something, that hurts. And rejection hurts. It hurts to be rejected. And it's not fun to be Jewish. It's not fun. We get picked on a lot. Let me tell you about it. We get to starve ourselves and just get picked on. And we just, God, we're the scapegoats. Let me tell you what, we are. We're always targeted. So, anyways, there you have it.